Hello and welcome to Let Me Be Your Game Guide, a podcast that spends each episode delving into a mystical new video game, exploring its charms and challenges, and helping you decide if it should be next on your list. I'm your host Emma, and with me are my co-hosts Rylan and Sean. Join us for this week's spoiler-free rating episode as we escape reality and enter the metaphysical. For the remainder of this episode, let me be your game guide.
Blammy.
Is that like a new catchphrase? What is that?
That's from Anchorman.
Oh, I've never seen that.
What?
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Oh, it's such a good one. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Will Ferrell and the sports. It's about a news anchor, and he has a team, and one of his team members is the sports guy. And he always says "blammy" every time someone does something good. So,
What the heck?
Surprise, we're actually covering Anchorman today.
Oh, shoot.
Did you not get that email?
No, I didn't. I've been ignoring my email
Oh,
Shoot.
man.
Well,
again.
just kidding. Segue right into hello, welcome to the podcast. Today we're covering Neva, correct?
Neva.
Yeah,
Neva.
Mm-hmm.
Neva. Yes, I think we pronounced it Neva last episode,
think so.
but we've decided that it's pronounced Neva according to the way that the character pronounces it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This was Ryland's pick.
I chose it.
You did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will I regret it? Find out in this episode.
Well, Neva was developed by Nomada Studio and published by Devolver Games. Does that sound familiar to anyone?
Yeah, they publish a lot of games.
They do. But we have done a Devolver published game already.
Is it Darkside?
No.
I don't know.
I wasn't ready for the trivia.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I didn't study, man.
It was Death's Door.
Oh.
Mhm. Yeah. So,
Interesting.
this game is available on PC, Mac, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, and Xbox Series X and S. It was released October 15th, 2024, and when it is not on sale, it is $19.99. So, a little bit about Nomada Studios. They are based in Barcelona and composed of experienced developers and artists. You may know them for their first release. I don't know how to pronounce this.
Grease.
Yep.
One of those.
I meant to look
Oh.
it up. I was like, is it Gree? Is it Grease? Is it Gris?
Grass.
Gris. It's that one.
Gris. It's a beautiful game. I haven't played it, but I've watched a little bit of the playthrough, and it's pretty.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they have shown themselves to be makers of beautiful games.
Competent art.
Competent.
To undersell it.
They were founded in 2016, and like our last game, there's actually a very long list of people that were involved in the making of this game, so I'm not going to name them all, but the four main people I will talk about is Conrad Rosette, Roger Mendoza, and Adrian Cuevas. They're the triad that are on their website, so they are the names that I'm going to drop here, but I will also have a link in the show notes that has the entire list of credits so you can read everyone that was involved. And then Berlinist was responsible for the music in this game. So I also wanted to say before we moved on, this is I was debating whether this should be talked about in our part 2 episode or this episode, but I read it before I played the game, and it kind of shifted the way that I interpreted the game, I guess, in a good way, I thought. So when I was doing research, I read that during development, the game was originally going to be 2 people, but it was scrapped and became a young woman and her wolf.
Good choice.
Yeah, I thought it was a great choice, especially because this was meant to be kind of like, I don't know, it kind of simulates raising a child. So when it's 2 people, that would work. But when it's a person and an animal, I think that a lot more people can kind of, what's the word? Relate.
Yeah.
Can relate to it. So, because I don't have children, but Sean, you do.
A gaggle.
Yeah, you have a clan.
Yeah.
But it was also inspired by Studio Ghibli's film Princess Mononoke. Is that how you say it? Mononoke?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always worried I'm going to say it wrong.
Oh, love that movie.
Yeah.
This does have big vibes of that for sure.
This game just had Studio Ghibli vibes in general. Like, I don't know. The monsters reminded me of something from Spirited Away.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, just, yeah, if you play this game, you'll get the vibes. I'm also not going to talk about the accessibility report here because there is already one created on the Family Gaming Database. So I will link that in the show notes as well. Go ahead and take a peek if you need to do that before playing the game. Rylan, since this was your pick, would you like to give us a quick spoiler-free description for the game and how it's played?
Yeah, so this is a story adventure game with some combat. You play as a young woman who's traveling through a mystical world with her dog, Neva. And you are trying to stop some, I don't know, it's like some corruptive forces that's kind of destroying the world, or at least is part of the world, and trying to deal with that and put a stop to it and survive.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a side scroller as well.
Yeah, with some platforming and some combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, anyways, now what you've all been waiting for, let's get started on our spoiler-free game rating. We take into account general considerations such as length, challenge rating, and replayability. We also consider story and narrative topics, including plot, characters, world building, and content variety, presentation topics, including graphics, sound design and music, and mechanics. And lastly, we consider the overall value of the game. So starting with general considerations, let's talk about the length. How long did it take you guys to beat this game?
I think it was around like 3 or 3.5 hours for me. I don't think it was too long.
Yeah, I think I was at 4.
Oh man, it took me 5.5 hours to beat this game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I would assume it was because of the combat.
Okay.
Yeah, I will say that there was moments I definitely struggled. So
Yeah. So this isn't a game that you can buzz through. Again, we talk about it every time there's combat that's involved. I think I'm getting better, but I'm not very good at the combat sections of games. So it usually does take me a little bit longer to get through those parts.
Yeah, you definitely had to like read the attacks.
Yeah.
And yeah.
yeah, dodge appropriately was super important.
Yep.
Which
Time your
I'm
stuff.
really bad at strategy with combat. I
you
like
got
to
through it.
just I did,
Yeah.
but it was brute forcing, just like swing, not being strategic at all, dying about 7 or 8 times before deciding, okay, fine, I have to be strategic.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. For the challenge rating, I put this at easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think it's somewhere easy, moderate, somewhere in there. I think that, like you said, like some of the combat is challenging. You kind of have to learn the fights a little bit and get your timing right. Same with some of the platforming. Most of the platforming was super easy, but some of it had that same sort of thing where you need to, like attack midair at the right time and then dash appropriately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to like focus a little bit, I'd say.
Yeah. Agreed. Easy to moderate.
Probably leaning towards moderate. I was trying to be like, it's hard for me to rate these. So as someone who struggles with combat, maybe this was more of a moderate.
Yeah.
Where did you rate Death's Door? Because the combat in this was much easier than some of the hard fights in Death's Door, I think.
Yeah.
But
Let me see.
it still definitely was not a walk in the park in this game.
No, there's a lot of boss battles that you encounter throughout the entire game, and some of those weren't bad, and some of them was like, man, I died a bunch of times trying to get through them.
Yeah, there were some where I couldn't even figure out how to dodge for a while before I died enough times.
Oh,
Yeah.
I rated it difficult.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, moderate.
Yeah.
You didn't have a ton of tools in this game to change up your like combat style. Like some other, like Death's Door has like range attacks and melee attacks, and you can change your weapon. In this game, you're really stuck with the limited palette of options. So you didn't really have options on how you traverse or how you fight. You basically have to do it how they want to. So you have to
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah.
And there was only a handful of ways that you could really do stuff. So.
Yeah.
Moving on to target audience, the ESB, I always say ESBR, the ESRB rating.
I was like, what is it?
Yeah, I didn't know what it was either.
It's E10 plus, which I always think it's weird when it's like, it's for everyone 10 plus. Like, so it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
How dare you?
They need to add an extra rating
Yeah.
level in there.
But yes, E10 plus with a note of fantasy violence. I agree with that.
Check.
Yeah. Who do you guys think would be interested in playing this game?
I think like animal and nature lovers will connect to some of like the themes in the game.
Yeah, anyone who's really, because I mean, there's a lot of games out there now where it's like a story game, and I think if you like those games like Sky or Brothers Two Tales, I mean, a lot of those ones, I feel like you,
That's not what it's
it's
called.
not what it's called. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Gosh, I get that wrong every time. If you're into some of those story-based games, I think you'd still have fun with this one, even with the combat and stuff, because it's not super combat heavy. Just there's combat moments. So
Yeah, it feels like a good cozy game if a cozy gamer is looking to broaden their horizons
Sure.
a little bit. Like if you're only playing cozy games but you want something that's just like a tad different, that's just going to add an extra mechanic in that you're not usually using, this is a good game.
Yeah, I think it has more like mechanical substance than a lot of other story games,
Yeah.
yeah,
while still keeping like that story and those emotions like at the forefront.
Yes. Yep. And replayability. Do you guys find this to be a replayable game?
nah,
Not especially
yeah,
for me.
Yeah.
They do have the like, I don't know what they are, little flowers or whatever that light up that you can collect. And this game does the very smart thing of having checkpoints that you can reload to, and they also tell you if you've gotten the flowers there or not, so you can go back and collect those things. I wasn't interested personally, but it has that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I didn't think this was super replayable. I genuinely enjoyed this first playthrough. If I did replay it, it would have to be like
Years and years.
years
Yeah.
and years
Yeah.
and years from now. And I didn't find that I was very interested in going back and finding the flowers, but
Yeah, I think you're pretty much going to have the same experience every time you play as well. Maybe I'm wrong though.
someone replay it and tell us.
yeah.
Christy, get on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Christy, replay this game. Well, that concludes the general consideration section. We'll now move into story and narrative, which begins our numbered ratings. So we rate things between 1 and 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. And we're going to kick it off with plot. Where did you guys rate the plot?
Oh, don't look at me first.
I'm looking at you because you're making a face.
It's because I don't know how I feel. I don't know, like a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it seemed a little cliche to me. It was you're giving me a weird look right now.
Oh my God.
I think I
No, you're good. I'm in the same boat.
okay.
Yeah.
I
I'm in the
also
same
gave
boat.
it a 3, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah.
I was just giving you a face for the word cliched, but everyone has a right to their opinion.
All right. Thank you. Well, speak more on that.
No, I do agree with what you're saying. There wasn't a ton going on plot-wise. There was a very small plot that progressed throughout the game, but you don't really know who would it be the antagonist? Like the evils? You don't get a lot of background on the antagonist of the game.
No.
It's kind of just there. And even at the ending, I didn't feel like it was very well explained. It didn't ruin the game for me, but I thought the plot could have a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of words are hard for all
We're
of us
struggling
today. Yeah.
today.
There wasn't much explanation in regards to what I mean, you knew that there was something going on and there was this bad essence or
Essence is a good.
thing that you had to fight, but
Yeah.
like outside that, you just kind of like, oh, I got to do this thing.
Yeah.
That's it. So
In my notes, I struggled when I was trying to write about that. I was like, the creatures, the
Yeah, because
monsters,
it's basically
the
like
things.
some corruptive force that's
Yeah.
taking over the land, and it's generating these like monstrous dudes.
Yeah, and you're just trying to cleanse it out.
Yeah. Trying to survive.
Yeah. What about characters? How do you guys feel about those?
Not a lot of detail there. I mean, they were likable enough. I mean, I think what you do get is a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
The woman that you play as, there's not a lot of, I think she only says the name of the dog is like the only thing she says, but then her emotions and the like how she's saying it, like it really tells you everything you need to know about how she's feeling about it. I don't know. I'm going to give it a 2. There's
Oh my
the look again.
gosh. Sorry, I gave it a 4.
I'm a hater.
Oh,
No, that's okay. I gave it a 4 just because even though there are very few characters, I don't know, 4, 3, 2, at least 3.
3,
Yeah,
3,
3.
questionably 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very many characters, but like you said, I thought that there was a lot of emotion put into the main character. I actually have her name.
What?
Yeah, I looked it up. She has a name. It's never said in the game, but where's your name?
I'll bump her
Where's
to
your
a 3 just
name?
because the main character is super badass.
She is.
She was cool.
She is. Alba.
Oh,
Alba.
Her name is Alba. That's at least what I saw on I think it was like a Wikipedia page that was talking about the game.
interesting.
They call her Alba, so yeah. But then Neva, I thought that the character development with the wolf creature was just like really, really subtle but super accurate. I don't know how to really explain it without super spoiling some things, but I mean, you grow with this animal.
Yeah,
And
because the animal is young at the beginning.
yeah. And so if you've ever owned a dog, and had them from like a puppy age to a grown-up age, it was like I was reliving raising my dog in the least annoying way possible.
Sure, yeah. Stuff's not getting chewed up.
Yeah, he was a pain in the ass when he was little. But I can't really talk about the exact details here, but I'll talk about them in our next episode. But the character development and the behavior development of Neva as time went on, I thought was really well done, especially it was basically just done with animation and mechanics, I guess.
And like some sound effects, some dog sound effects. Neva being the name of the dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The young dog at the beginning.
I gave it a 4. I just really loved the relationship between the two characters that you play as.
No, that's fair.
Yeah. I think I would just go with the 3 because I kind of felt the same way. Like, yeah, you have your dog and, the characters are good. Like, main character is pretty badass.
Yeah.
And, Neva, as she gets older, yeah, you definitely see her grow and get stronger and her confidence get stronger and those kinds of things, which is cool to see. So, yeah, I think it'd be a 3.
Next in story and narrative, let's talk about world building. Sean, what did you give world building?
I'd give it like a 2.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 2 and maybe 3. Because, you don't really experience... you don't really experience a lot of the world. You're just kind of going through your quest. And so at the very end, I don't know, because you do get moments where they kind of portray like the vastness of the world and you get to see these different things, but I feel like that's more of like a graphical thing. Yeah. Not so much a world building thing. But at the end you do get to see that the world, I shouldn't say that. Never mind. You do get to see how things change. So, yeah, I give it like a 2 or a 3 maybe.
Yeah. I agree. I gave it a 3, but the more I think about it, it might be a 2. There just wasn't a lot of world building that was done, and anything that could have given us more information about the background of this world or what's going on wasn't really given to us, even at the end. I do think it's cool that you kind of traverse through the same, or what I would assume is the same area, kind of, but different times. And it does change, and so you kind of get the feeling of change throughout a familiar space, but world-wise, it was very small.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the corruption and whatever was going on there was the interesting thing about this world. and there were so little details, which maybe is thematic because the characters may not really understand what's going on either.
Yeah.
But it did kind of leave me wanting more. But I also wonder, part of me wonders, like, is the excellent graphics in this game like elevating the world building for me? I think it might be a 2. I feel like the great graphics just kind of trick me into thinking that it's cooler than it is.
Sure.
Yeah. Which
yeah.
good for them, because the
Honestly,
graphics were amazing.
They
Play
were
to your
very good,
strengths.
yeah.
And I mean, not all games need great world building. We're playing a lot of indie games, which not a lot of them have big worlds because they are just kind of smaller
games,
games.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot was done with the world building in this game. Not to hate on it at all.
No, I don't think that was the
No.
focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Lastly, in our story and narrative section, we're going to talk about content variety. This one was kind of a toss-up for me.
I think it was low for me. It might be like a 2 or a 3. Maybe I feel like a 2. It did a couple of different things. You had like platforming and combat and running in a straight line. Those are pretty much the things you did. They did add some new mechanics and like different monsters that you fight as you go. But by about halfway through the game, there wasn't really much surprises, and it just kind of felt the samey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would give it a 2. Even through the experiences that you go, because you travel throughout, I think it's almost a year with Neva. And you get some variation in like powers and what you do, but I mean, outside that, there really wasn't much. Yeah, run a straight line for a really long time and do some platforming, and that was some combat. That was pretty much it. So
Yeah, I gave it a 3, and I think mine is higher than your guys's only because the combat was just an extra push for me, and because I'm not used to strategizing with the way that I do combat and really thinking about how I want to progress through a group of enemies, for me that was a lot of content. It was a lot of thinking, it was a lot of newness, and because a lot of the mechanics that are added are combat based or enemy based, for me it was enough that it bumped it up to a 3.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good perspective.
Yeah, I mean, but that, again, I think we differ in that area just because I don't play a lot of, well, it's seeming like I'm playing more and more of these games. So
we're bringing you in.
Eventually, I will be good at combat and we'll be on more of an even playing field, I think. But
yeah.
So moving into the presentation portion of our rating, let's start with graphics.
5.
I also gave it a 5. This game is beautiful. It's vibrant and dull at the same, like, depending on where you are, but in a good way.
Yeah, the vibrant colors and what they did with the corrupt force and all that stuff was really cool. The animation was, because they have cutscenes in there too, which was awesome to see.
Yeah.
That really shined a light on it a little bit more too. I do have one gripe, but I will explain that in the second part.
I have one that I'll explain in this part.
Okay.
In areas where there was like a lot more corruption, it was a lot less nice to look at. It was just a lot more like gray and kind of dull.
Sure.
Which I think was probably intentional and clever in that way. Like, oh, the world is less beautiful where it's corrupted. But certain parts of the game had a lot of that, and I was like, this wasn't that cool. Like, it still was nice looking, but it was not nearly at the level of like the beautiful areas with the trees and everything.
Sure.
So if most of the game was like that corrupted area, it would probably be a lower score for me. But
I thought it was a nice break because in the beginning you have these beautiful graphics, in the ending you have these beautiful graphics, and in the middle, kind of like you're talking about, you lose them a little bit because of how much corruption is going on. So it might have been a nice little palette cleanse, or the opposite of a palette cleanse, a palette
not cleanse.
uncleanse.
Dirtiness. I don't know.
You lick a boot in the middle of this game and then I don't know what I'm saying. It would have been, never mind.
Well, it just adds variety to it, and you can it kind of explains like the corruption that's in the world.
Well, I didn't like it.
Yeah. Some of the parts
okay.
were cool. Some of the parts I agree with you though were like just gray and blah, and you're like, this is not.
I think it just was so beautiful. You're like, I'm wasting time in this game with this ugly
Yeah, for
grossness.
sure. But I do think that was a good like mechanism to help tell the story of like why the corruption is bad.
Yeah, that's true. Well, moving on to sound design and music.
I'd give it a 4. I thought the sound and music was very good. There was definitely some moments where the music definitely amplified what you were doing. And I thought that was just really cool. It all sounded great for the most part to me. So
This one might be a 5 also. It's a 4 or 5, I think. I really like the beginning when you're like, it's the springtime and there's all the nature. You hear all those like bird sounds and everything. You hear like the noises that the dog's making. Again, the emotions that Alba, I guess is her name,
Oh, the
has.
voice acting.
Because the voice acting was amazing. Because all she says all game is Neva, and she calls the dog, or she just says Neva, or she's sad about Neva, you know. And there's so much that is told through that. Really good, and the music is good as well. It didn't like stand out to me a lot, but it was epic and it was appropriate. It added to the emotions, I think.
yeah.
But it was great sound design, I think.
I also gave it a 5 for the same reasons. The voice acting, just the little sounds of, I don't know if you had Neva eat like fruit at any point, because that just kind of happens, but you can like hear the sniffing and like the running through puddles, just like the smallest little details that were included in this game I thought were great. And I liked the music. I thought it was really calming, and even in the middle of a battle I wasn't annoyed by the battle music. Sometimes it stresses me out. So
Fair.
yeah. And lastly, in the presentation section and the last numbered rating is mechanics. I gave this one a 5.
It was incredibly smooth.
It was, for me, like the fact that I was able to have combat, and even though there was a learning curve, I thought the combat was super smooth once you actually figured out like the timing and the everything. I just thought it worked really well. The way that you kind of moved through the world, the climbing, the jumping, the everything. I gave it a 5.
Yeah, I agree. It was incredibly smooth. The only beef I have, which isn't real beef, was it's just like, to me, I didn't think the combat was particularly fun. And as
really?
somebody that is a fan of the combat type stuff in games, I thought it was a little dry, I guess.
Interesting. I really liked the combat in this game.
Okay,
I had a good
cool.
time.
I think like the katana wielding woman who's like slicing through these monsters, like I think that was cool, but I didn't like, I don't know, the attacks were a little basic and it felt a little repetitive to me, at least. So that's my only thing, but the controls were incredibly smooth.
Yeah, I would also have to say like super smooth gameplay, but I would agree with you, Raylan. Like as someone who enjoys the combat aspect of the games, like it was kind of like slice, 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 jump, dodge, slice, 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 jump, dodge. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of the game, like at least for that part of it. So
yeah.
Interesting. I had so much fun with the combat. I also liked when it's not just you fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely did add another level to it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because, Neva does grow up.
Yeah.
And I just thought the additional mechanics for that was smooth as well.
Yeah.
But
Neva biting bitches for sure.
yeah. Cool. Well, this brings us to our last section, and that is the value of the game. Is this worth $19.99?
I would have to say no. Only because the combat wasn't super strong. Everything else was great. Like the visual graphics was amazing. The music's super good. I would appreciate it more at like a $15 price range. So I guess if you caught it on sale, that'd be pretty sweet. But yeah.
You wouldn't buy it for $20 again?
I don't know if I would buy it for $20 again, especially you got one playthrough. You play the game. It's very good. It's a good game overall, but I don't think it's a $20 price point.
Yeah, I'm with Sean. I think that I can't say this game isn't good. I think I'm just kind of meh on it personally. It felt a little long for me for what it was, even though it was super short.
I will say that 1999 was pushing it for me, but because of the emotions that this game evoked, because of how beautiful the graphics and the music and sound design were, and because for me this was the perfect balance of storytelling and combat, I would say yes. I'm okay that I spent 1999 on it. I cried a little bit when I played this game. Mostly, I think it's because this is so stupid. My dog is also white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was
Troopers
just
way girthier.
yeah, my dog is not as elegant as
Yeah.
Neva, but I feel like with his new haircut, his head is kind of the shape of Neva's. Oh no, your hat.
Oh.
Oh, we didn't even tell everyone. Ryland's wearing a Christmas hat, a Santa hat.
Hell yeah.
There we go.
Over my headphones.
Yeah.
There you go.
Awkwardly.
We'll have to get a picture and put it on the Instagram or something. We'll make it the thumbnail instead of our normal. But yeah, I thought it was worth $20 to me. I think, again, this game is geared towards more of a cozy gaming community, especially because their first game, I believe, was pretty highly regarded as a cozy game because it didn't have any combat.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah.
I should probably fact check myself before I say all of these things,
No.
but I'm 99% sure because when I was researching when I was researching for this episode, this game, they mentioned adding in combat to this game to kind of adjust, kind of, I think, keep it a little different. Yeah, I would pay $20. I think that if you're a cozy gamer and you're just looking for something a little spicier, this is a game for you. It was a good time.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, before we close out, let's talk about our final ratings. Where does this land?
The big decision.
Yeah. I put mine at a 3.9. Very close to a 4 for me. I actually really enjoyed this game.
Good.
I thought the combat was the perfect level for me. I really enjoyed the relationship of the characters throughout. Plot lacked a little bit, but I thought that the emotions that were tied to the story of this game was plenty, even with a little bit of a lacking plot. So 3.9, almost a 4, really, truly.
I think I would give it around a 3.4, maybe 3.5, because the graphics are great. Don't get me wrong, the music was great. I do agree with the emotional aspect of it because that did play into a lot of the story. I just wish the combat was a little bit more. Like there was just a little bit more to it. So yeah, 3.4 I think will be my.
I think a 3.2 for me. I feel like if I were like trying to be Mr. Objective, it might be higher, like up where you are, Emma, at like 3.94-ish, because I do think it's a very good game that will appeal to a lot of people. But when I was playing this game, I was like, dang it, I wish I had chosen a different game because I'm just a little lukewarm on this one, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it was fine. It was good. It had some amazing art and the emotions were there and good. And I think it did its job as a story game. Otherwise, though,
Cool.
Yeah.
This concludes the spoiler-free episode for Neva. Please join us next week for the spoiler-filled discussion episode as we dive into the details of this game and all its hidden gems. We will also be opening Christmas presents. Well, Sean and Rylan will be opening Christmas presents, and I'm excited about it. So, if you haven't played this game yet, and it sounds like something you might be interested in, I hope you find time to play it before tuning in next week. Please go and give the podcast a follow and a 5-star review if you liked what you heard. You can email us with any comments, questions, or constructive criticism at letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. You can also send us any game requests if there's something you want us to review. You can find us on socials as Let Me Be Your GG, basically everywhere except for TikTok, where Let Me Be Your Game Guide. But everything else is Let Me Be Your GG. That's Instagram, YouTube, Twitch,
Discord.
Twitter, Discord that we don't use.
Oh, sorry.
I know. It's fine. It's there.
Instagram.
Yeah. And then our Patreon is patreon.com/letmebeyourgg. It's free to join. We post the episodes on Sunday, and that is just for joining for free. So if you want to get the content early, join our Patreon for free. If you want a little bit of extra content, we do have a $1 tier that's called Achievement Unlocked. We randomly upload some fun little videos. I think there's one and possibly another to come.
Not videos, episodes.
Oh, episodes.
I think you did that last time too.
Oh, that's embarrassing. You guys.
Sorry.
No, I think last time you corrected yourself.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You're good.
Anyways,
Yeah.
there's extra content on there too. For at least one of the episodes. So, yeah, go check it out. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to see you next week. And thank you so much. Oh, wait. There's
Wait.
something really cool that's happening.
What?
Something cool is happening.
Oh, yeah.
What?
I mean,
On
they already know. They're in the
Saturday.
middle of it.
Oh my God. Sorry, we're recording this before it started. If you haven't listened, if you haven't started listening, we have 12 days of demos going on.
Yeah. And
Oh,
you can see it in
yeah.
your podcast feed right now. If you're skipping them because you're like, I don't know about these, they're so short. Don't skip them. They're fun. Don't be silly.
Yeah.
Don't be silly.
They're
It's December.
free. They're free gifts for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just-
We're being festive.
And they're free to download and play and stuff too. So if you're interested, you can get them.
There's some good ones.
Yeah.
There's some
Stinkers.
Coles. Yeah. But
So I guess if you're listening to the 12 days of demos, we will see you tomorrow. But then we will also see you next week for the part 2 of this episode when we spoil it all. So thank you for listening. We can't wait to see you tomorrow or next week
Or today.
or today.
maybe right now, right after this.
Yeah. Double feature.
Yeah.
Well, and thank you so much for letting me be your game guide. GG, y'all.
Bye.
Dang it, Bobby.
Dang it, Bobby.
The boy, right.